Welcome to Training Group Live. On deck today, a new face and voice, Paul Costa. You have
What's
to say
up?
hi now.
What's up, guys? How are you?
Appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me. So, for people not familiar, do you want to introduce yourself? I don't feel
Yeah,
like I would do it
uh,
justice.
I'll give you a general a background. I can't mention certain things, not because it's like super cool, just because like
Per
my
sec.
policy is like
Yeah, yeah.
little strict with that kind of stuff. So, active law enforcement, uh, currently about 18 years in. I'm on a full time unit as a special operations canine handler. Been in that role and still in that role for 11 years or so. Uh, been teaching for probably 15 years. Walther, pro staff instructor, Safariland cadre, work for Achilles Heel Tactical, have my own trading company, Broken Arrow Defense, owner of, or part owner, or co owner of Arrow Concepts Training Center, and co owner of On Point LLC, which is a gun company that does like modifications and stuff like that.
Dang, you're a busy guy.
Yes.
So you're basically working full time and teaching more or less full time.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the numbers, I guess I mean it's all subjective, like right, like what people would consider full time. But
Sure.
I'm teaching probably it varies, but like I would say roughly anywhere between 35 and 40 classes a year. That varies, right? Because some classes are 3 days, some classes are one
Sure.
day,
No, I
right?
get it.
You know,
I think that sounds pretty good to
roughly
me.
roughly what it is. So it definitely feels like two full time jobs without a doubt.
Yes.
It's
Uh,
pretty busy.
well, you said a couple different companies. So you have a shooting range,
Hmm.
which is quite cool. That's in Ohio.
Yep.
Then you have the Achilles heel and the broken arrow. How's the difference between or the like your personal training company and then you work through Achilles also, or people can go to
Yeah.
them to find you, or how does that all work out?
So the majority of my classes, and I would say like 95% of them are through Achilles Heel Tactical, right? So like if you wanted to come to a performance pistol class, performance carbine class, something like that, even if you went to my website, it just redirects you back to Rick's, and
Okay.
you sign up there.
Okay.
I do have a subscription program. It's not open for people. It's full, but like I have a monthly subscription program where you have the same group of guys, and we meet up every month and train. That program is called Bad Elite. It's actually great because I have the same 20 dudes every month. So it's not like you can break that mold of like teaching a curriculum because
Mhm.
every class is building, every class we're pushing. Um, it's proven to be a great model for developing shooters, and they're at the point now too because we're in our I guess 2.5 years into it, and early on we had to talk about certain things, but now they're all at the point where it's like as an instructor, it's a great program because like we don't have to talk about the same stuff. Like it's quick reminders like, hey man, stop looking at your dot. Hey
Sure.
dude, stop pressure changing, right? And they're at the point now where the majority of these guys, they know exactly what it is. I don't have to tell them, you know? So it's a really great program. It's super rewarding to be part of that because I've gotten to see them grow so much. A lot of times you get a guy in class, right? And he shows potential. And then
Mhm.
you see him next year in the same class again. And you're like, bro, you didn't do anything, did you? At all?
Sure.
Like you are the same shooter as you were last year. Um, so the whole point of that program was because I had a lot of repeat customers, and they were just coming to every class, right?
Mhm.
And I was like, hey, dude, like I want to do something to reward these guys. So I made it super cheap. But part of that is you don't have to, like you can miss some, but like you're expected to get there every month. And for that, it's $150. And we run stages and all. It's progressed into that now, right?
Sure.
Originally, it was more stand and deliver, grip, and vision and stuff like that. More performance shooting, but like pretty centric to like stand and deliver, right?
Sure.
And then it was like, okay, guys have got that. Let's move it now more. So then we got into micro stages, then big stages, and then it kind of turned into like a lot of guys started getting into like competition and stuff.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, let's do some competition centric things. And it's kind of cool because I'm getting a ton of cops in it too, which like in the
That's
beginning, I
good.
don't think I had I don't think I had any cops. Um, and then now I have probably half. Um, Originally started out with 30 guys with that. And then I had to cut half the group because half the group was showing up all the time and getting better. And then half the group wasn't. So like it basically came like, do we just do a repeat or do I trim the fat and keep moving with the guys that got forward and then pick up dudes that are more capable later on? And that's what we ended up doing. And that's kind of what it is. Like at the end of the year, end of the program, guys that aren't like keeping up get trimmed and we keep running with who we have until we identify guys that are motivated and into it that can at least keep up with the current skill level of that group. So that's pretty much like to bring it back. That's pretty much all Broken Arrow does, except for that and maybe a couple contracts here and there that come in.
Sure.
Outside of that, everything's through Achilles heel. That takes up the majority of my workload.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
then I just don't have the time to do any more.
makes sense. If you look at YouTube, there's Achilles heel stuff like all over the well, with you and Rick both, but there's a lot of material on YouTube for people that like watching that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Rick's got a great media guy. Tanner does a really good job, and Tanner's great to work with because like he's a shooter himself. So I've worked with other media guys where they're filming the class, and then like you're trying to make like a good highlight reel, right? And then like they'll put a student who's just like totally not gripping the pistol, right? You know, and it's like the guns all over the place. And I'm like, dude, why would you put that in the video? Like, I wasn't teaching that because it almost like, people are looking to like, try to blow you up. It's like, dude,
Sure.
now it's going to be, oh, dude, great job on teaching him grip, Paul. It's like, no, I taught him grip. He's not doing it. Like, I can only do so much, you know?
I get it. Like you just meet people where they are.
Yeah.
Well, we got to quickly talk about gun setup. What is your
Yeah.
preferred? What do you shoot for handguns? What's your setup? What do you like? I know you're a fellow Walther
Yeah.
autist, but how's your gun setup, or what do you like?
So the whole thing with Walter, like, I started shooting their guns before I came to work for them. And the reason why I wanted to work with them is because of their guns. And even if they never picked me up, I'd still shoot these guns. I love them. Before that, I was shooting Glock
Okay.
34s. Kind of a similar setup, but just like, traditional Glock 34. And I mean, I do like a Glock. Glock's a great gun. The thing that drew me over to the Walther was I could never get a Glock trigger that I really loved. Um, Got to play with some Walters, and I was like, wow, man, these triggers, the dynamic triggers are amazing,
Yeah.
right? And for more difficult shots, and I'm sure we'll get into some of this stuff, but like it does help to have a nicer trigger because
Sure.
you're less likely to do dumb shit.
Yeah.
And it's not that you can't do it; it just makes your job a little bit easier.
Equipment always helps. I get it.
Yeah, right. Like if you understand what you have to do with it, it definitely helps. So that was kind of the first thing. And then I started playing with some of these steel frames, and I really loved the weight of the gun. I like the way it felt in my hands. It just feels like what a gun should feel like. So the way I have these set up is beaver tail reduction done on them. You guys can see that.
Yep.
It's uncoated because I don't care the way it looks. I have them round off the beaver tail because for me, with the way I draw a gun and I have small hands, I found myself kind of getting caught on that little hook there of the tang,
Mhm.
and I felt like it was just unnecessary. So I have them round that off, and that little bit deeper undercut here too. So that allows me to get a little bit higher on the slide. I'll have my grips silicone carbided, either whether it's the lock grips or regular grips. Not that big of a difference. Long stroke guide rod, currently a big fan of.
No one's perfect.
The new V2. I know you hate it, but
I don't like the long stroke. I don't know. They're okay.
so long. I like the long stroke currently. I did order one of those. What's it? The V spec or something?
Yeah, V-Spec, the new one.
Yeah. So I'll play with that and see what that's about. That might be more gooder. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Currently, I am a long stroke fan, and then I just add the extended safety because I have small hands.
Okay.
That allows me to not have to break my grip too much to hit that release.
Okay.
That's big. Oh, I do one other thing too. I have my buddy also. You guys won't be able to see this, but he kind of like takes out the bevel on the inside of the magwell, right? Because it's got a little bit of a sharp edge on the stock ones. So he just polishes this up all around here, and that definitely I've seen help for a little bit reload consistency.
Yeah, just making it a little bit more like a funnel.
Yeah, exactly. Because they don't really have that when you take the magwell off, and obviously for carry optics we can't run magwells, and that's the division I'm currently shooting in. And I just found like by rounding that out, it just gave you a little bit more room for error, where like you didn't just bounce off it. Because these guns I don't think are the easiest to reload. Um, Glocks I never really appreciated, but man, dude, those things reload so
Polymer guns
easy
are
now.
easier to load. Yeah.
Yeah, I never realized it until I started playing with other guns because I always just shot Glocks, and I think I underappreciated it, you
Yeah.
know. And then now shooting other stuff, like, oh my god, like I could pick up a Glock right now, slam a reload, full speed, it'll just go in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like um, these, I have to pay a little bit more attention to. I
Sure.
shot the M&P for a little bit.
Mhm.
That was a fucking nightmare to reload. That thing, I did not like that at all. But also a good gun. I liked it.
Do you
But
have
yeah,
any
that's
preference?
basically my preferred setup. I am playing around with the polymers a little bit more, um, especially with shooting yours in class
Yeah.
the day. I have some of them. I mean, there's a give and take, right? Uh, Transitioning the gun, moving the gun around, drawing the gun, the polymer gun feels a lot better.
Easier to draw.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Uh, Stand and deliver shooting, that steel frame just eats up a lot of that
Yeah.
vibration.
It's
And
softer.
yeah, you don't have to hold the gun as tight.
Mhm.
So I find that allows me to be a little bit more relaxed. If I'm more relaxed, I'm less likely to pressure change, which obviously gives me a better result.
Sure.
So it's give and take. But currently, right now, the setup is the steel frame 5-inch match
Okay. What
with
about
my little
optics?
little
Any
tweak.
preference in red dots?
Yeah. So right now, I'm shooting a lot of the 507 comps.
Yep. Hollow
Really
Sunset's
like
good to go.
them. Been using the Arise plates. Jordan over there makes a great plate. There's a lot of good plates out there, though.
Yeah, I agree.
11.7 Concepts, they sent me some plates, really nice plates. And I'm sure there's 100 other companies that make nice plates. These are the ones currently that I'm using. I do like them. They work perfect. I'm not looking to, change them. Parker Mountain made some nice plates as well.
Yep.
You know, they were really good. They sent me some of them. So, I got a bunch of different plates on guns, but primarily a lot of them have the Arise plates on them and the 507s. Walter, or not well, Walter, Vortex was nice enough to send me some of their XLs.
Hmm.
Do really like that a lot.
I do
Uh,
also.
I'm not a fan of the larger dot though.
No, I agree. They have the
Yeah.
new Defender XL and the two MOA I like.
Yes. So that is where they should have started, in my opinion.
I agree.
With the two MOA dot, which they've corrected that. Now they have the two MOA dot. I don't have any of the two MOA dots yet, but hopefully Chris will send me some of them.
I'm sure he will.
And, yeah, I'm looking to run them a little bit more too as well. But dude, dots are kind of those things where I feel like, I'm definitely guilty of this. If When I first started teaching and shooting, if you asked me if I would put a hollow sun on my gun, no fucking way, like never.
I know.
Um, Dude, that'll
I've
not
got a
happen.
hollow set on the gun next to me, like one of the
Yeah.
closed emitters. Yeah, I think they're great.
Now I believe they're great, but at the time it wasn't worth it to me. They weren't prevalent enough where I got to see them in classes and believe that they're
Yeah, you had to have
reliable.
a Trigicon product, obviously.
Dude, it was Trigicon and it was Aimpoint on everything, you know?
Yep.
Now, I don't think I have, even my rifle dots are all Aimpoints now. And I have some Steiners. They sent me some stuff. Some of the new Steiner stuff is really nice. And the price point on them too is there as well. Um, so now, yeah, I mean, I have some older Aimpoint stuff, but honestly, it's on like guns I don't even shoot.
Sure.
And when you're looking at buying stuff, I think the red dot market has come around where like you don't really need to spend the money we used to spend.
I agree.
Like I used to spend $1,000 on a T2. Now it's like I can spend $300 on an Ames,
Yeah.
and it's just as good.
Yeah, and you
Maybe
get to
not
change
like
reticles if you want to.
yeah, and maybe not. I don't want to say it's just as good. It's just as good for what I needed to do. Right.
Same.
I don't know if it's going to survive falling down a mountain in Afghanistan. You know, but for what I do, law enforcement capacity and flat range teaching, yeah, I mean that's it does everything I need to do and saves me a ton of money.
I was gonna make a joke about falling down a mountain and then running away and having magazines full, but I'll stop. So, like, oh, why are your mags all full? What about rifle setup? Do you have a preference for
Yeah.
like barrel length, gases, whatever you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I shoot a bunch of different rifles, and I have like exploratory rifles for validating principles of what I'm teaching, such as like mount, and then I have like my well-tuned guns that I predominantly teach with, unless I have a particular contract where I know that's like taboo. Then I have guns. They're not crap, like they're nice guns, but they're not as tuned
Mhm.
to kind of like mirror what the class is using.
Yep.
Um, but if I'm teaching open enrollment classes, I get a big gamut across that. I pretty much use my best guns, which right now are modern materials. I have an 11.75 that I run a lot of the times, um, and that's got a Criterion barrel in it and all kinds of stuff like that. It's pretty nice. It does have a 2-port brake on it from Surefire.
Okay.
Um, I pretty much have all Surefire brakes on all my not brakes, but devices, muzzle devices on all my guns. So 4 prongs, 3 prongs, the 2 prong or the two port brakes, and then I just started messing with some of those close time flash hiders
Mhm.
um, from Surefire.
Yep.
I think that's what it's called, right?
Yep. It's called close time. So the muzzle brake you have would be SFMB, I think, which would be SOCOM series.
Yes.
Suppressor. Yep. 3 prong, 4 prong, and then yeah, it's called close time. It looks like an A2 flash hider for people not familiar, just a little bit longer, and you can use a Surefire SOCOM suppressors with those.
Yep. So I got 2 of them. Haven't messed with them a ton, but they're basically from my initial shooting with them is it's it's better than the 3 prong and 4 prong. Not nearly as good as the brake.
Well, yeah,
You
the
know,
brake's gonna be the easy mode, of course.
yeah, yeah, totally. But I feel like it has a cleaner shooting pattern than the 3 and 4 prongs.
Okay.
And I guess in the law enforcement world, that would be considered not as taboo as the brake, right? So I play with a lot of different guns, and I regularly train with different guns, but I predominantly teach my open enrollments with either a 14.5 or an 11.75 modern material. And
Okay.
then I have, I mean, they're pretty well, like I have JP buffers in them,
Okay.
best sound captured rods, like I've maxed them out for performance. Not playing too much with the adjustable gas stuff. Um, I have stuff with it, like those rifle speed um, adjustable gas blocks and stuff that are nice. But if you put a brake on it, it's almost like you don't need to regulate the gas,
I
you
don't
know?
own anything with an adjustable gas block, probably because I'm not smart enough to use it. So I just like take the BCM out of the box and lubricate it and shoot it for the most part, or ADM.
These are here somewhere.
But
So
I'm kind
these
of familiar. So there's like a screw in the side that you do to adjust, like more or less. Then.
no, these are what's
Oh.
this is why I like these. It's all right here.
Oh, that's cool.
So the days of like the long Allen key that you have to
Yeah.
do it, and then it gets carboned up and you can't change it.
Yeah.
You got to take off the rail. These are pretty cool, especially if you shoot suppressed and unsuppressed. It allows you to regulate the gas like this, depending
Oh,
on what you're shooting.
that's
Even
pretty
if you're
cool.
shooting like a spicier round, and you're like, okay, I want to tame that down a little bit for whatever. Like you're just trying to get it to softer shooting. You can just easily click through this.
Hmm.
Even if the gun starts to get a little dirty, right? Like you have it tuned perfectly. Now the gun's getting a little sluggish. You're like, okay, I'm gonna bump it up a gas or two, and then, dude. So like they're
Interesting.
definitely cool, um, but they help with like these 4 prongs, right? Because you can mitigate some of the violence coming out of
Yep.
it. But for like the brakes and stuff, it's pretty much, especially on like a 14.5 that has like a mid-length gas system,
Hmm.
um, basically pointless to have it on there.
No, that makes sense. Any preference on triggers?
Yeah, so the Geisley dynamic Geisley 3 gun triggers I
Yep.
like.
Yep.
I like a flat face trigger shoe, even though I have a ton of curved ones
Hmm.
because I just got them back in the day and I still use them. My go-to trigger currently is the Timothy Daniel Horner.
Okay.
So it says it's a two-stage trigger. Does not feel like a two-stage trigger. It feels like a one-stage trigger.
Yep.
Very light break, very quick reset. Um, it's one enclosed housing, so it's got a very good tight feel in the gun.
Hmm.
I throw some like anti-rotational pins on it. Not that it's not needed, but just keeps everything really really tight. And that's my go-to if you're like, hey, you have to pick. Well, flat range shooting. I don't think I would use it on duty. Um,
Probably not.
yeah, but um, yeah, like guys and triggers for duty. Um, and then like for flat range open enrollment classes, ideally I like the Timothy Daniel Horner trigger
Okay.
currently. But that's triggers too, man. Like they're always coming out with great stuff,
They are.
So there's probably a million other things that are just as good, if not better. But I'm also not looking to just to change shit to change shit.
I
Like
agree.
that works for me. Those the only downside of those Timothy triggers is they're expensive. Like I think for the average person that would just go to buy that, it would be like $300.
Yeah, and I mean you could get like the Geisley sister company, the ALG, you can get their ACT trigger for like $70 retail, and they always go on
Yeah,
sale. So you can get
yeah, and
some
even
good
if you
triggers.
wanted the Geisley one, right? They always do that year sale too, where it's half off or something.
It's like every couple any holiday they
Yeah,
do like yeah, half off MSRP.
yeah. So I mean, do I like the trigger? Sure. Is the money worth what it is? Probably not. But also, like, this is gonna sound bad, but like, I don't really care that much about like if I like something, it doesn't have to be dollar to dollar better
I get
for me.
it. Yeah.
You know,
Well, it's
so
yeah, I
if
mean,
it's a little bit better, I'm willing to spend a little bit extra, well, a lot more money for that little bit of betterness.
yeah, you want the best stuff you can get. I understand.
Yeah, I mean, this is our job, right?
Mhm.
And especially with the performance shooting, like people want to see you blaze, man.
Yeah.
Like it's not you're trying to push yourself. So like
Yeah.
um my teaching strategy is always, pushing the limits. And it definitely helps to, have a well tuned gun. And that's
Yeah.
what's great about the moderns. They're super affordable. And out of the box, like even if you don't change anything on them, they give you good triggers, all radian stuff, and good six stocks and pistol grips and everything. So you could pretty much run that gun. I think it's like $1,600, and it's a great gun. So that's currently what I'm shooting. But I have a bunch of stuff, BCMs and some hodgepodge builds. You always got to make some of your own stuff.
Yep.
And, I did get, where is it? ADM sent me one of theirs
Yep.
as well, which is pretty
ADM's a
nice.
good choice. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I like them a lot, man. It's definitely a great gun out of the box. You don't need to do anything to it. The triggers are good. Everything.
I
Um,
agree. Just
I
add an
really like
optic and shoot it.
that's it. Yeah, it's
Add
a
an
pretty
optic
good
and
gun.
sling.
It's a little bit more money though. I think they're what are they like 2,200 or something like
22,
that.
23. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say you haven't shot the moderns yet, have you?
No.
Yeah, I would say like a 14.5 of the ADM and a 14.5 of the modern. Um, I think you I think they shoot very similar,
Okay.
in my opinion. And the only thing you're really getting from that is if you want, because you want like a billet, a little bit more fancy styling. You know, it does come with a Criterion barrel, so
Hmm.
that's nice. You don't get that in the model of the Patrol on the modern materials, um, but their barrels are still super good. I forget exactly which one they use. They have a company make them to their specs.
Sure.
I don't think it's Roscoe, but it's a larger company like that makes them. I forget who it is.
I got you. Nah, no worries.
Yeah,
Well, let's talk about classes.
sure.
So, like, you can take it anywhere you want, but what should people expect in your classes? Who are they for? Are they LE mill? Just people want to be fast and accurate? Like, what
Yeah,
should
so
what should people expect?
they're for anybody, right? That is safe with handling a weapon,
Okay.
right? So if you have enough understanding how to safely handle a weapon, we have a class for you, right? We have different different tiers. We have a baseline course, which is our lowest level. Then we have our performance course, which is like the intermediary. And then I've introduced a 2-day pistol course called Pistol Mastery, which requires you to have, I don't like using the term advanced, right? But it requires you to have some stuff figured out to not just drown. Because I wouldn't say like I'm a curriculum based instructor. Um, every time I teach a class, it is a little bit different. And basically, what it goes on is with the group. Like,
Sure.
I'm going to give this group as much as they can handle, um, and push them, but not bring it to the point where it's counterproductive. And I'm just running through my curriculum because my curriculum says I got to get to this drill. I've seen good results with that. Guys in the after actions have always appreciated that. Um, and I just remember, in my journey, I remember taking like a JJ Rakaza class back in the hell was it? It was a while ago. I mean, 2014, 2015. It was a 3-day pistol course, and at that time in my shooting, like the practical side didn't exist. So it was only what I got from LE training and then the stuff I saw from like the higher tier one groups, right?
Sure.
Um, what they thought shooting looked like.
Yeah.
So at that time, that's what I thought shooting looked like. And in the JJ class, it doesn't really cover like a lot of shooting stuff, right? But what I did discover is that people could shoot. So although that wasn't part of like the curriculum, um, just by observation of seeing people in that class and what they were capable of doing with very similar guns to me, that kind of just sparked like the curiosity of like, what is happening here? Why is everyone able to do this stuff?
Sure.
And I started to have some little breakthroughs during like the first day of class, just on basic stuff like grip and vision and stuff, um, through my own diagnosis of what was going on there. Not that that was like talked about,
Sure.
uh, but the curriculum was moving on because it was more about movement and stuff, you know. And I was like, man, dude, I would like to just spend all 3 days on this, you
Sure.
know. So like when I left that class, I would say like the next 2 days, I was borderline almost like tuned out, because not tuned out in the sense of like not present, but just like I was still working on day one stuff for myself because everything builds upon itself.
Yeah.
So I was missing all the little nuances of like entries and exits and transitions because I was still trying to figure out how to grip a pistol,
Hmm.
durably and consistently.
Hmm.
So there was a lot of information that was probably there that I missed out on because I wasn't ready for it. Right. So I remember those things and I won't hold back curriculum. I'll push them, but like I won't, like if the curriculum says movement and the class clearly is not ready for movement, we're not doing movement. I don't care that the curriculum says movement. Like we are going to work on vision and grip, and I will saturate you with that. And my normal round count for a class for me is 1,000 rounds per day, so it's a heavy, heavy round count.
Okay.
But I feel like that works for my style of teaching, and I feel like it works for. I mean, I haven't had any negatives from students about it, although some people come in, they're not probably totally prepared to shoot that round count.
Or their hands ready for it. Sure.
Yeah, but I think they appreciate it because that's is really what's required to figure out these little nuances and grip and stuff.
Sure.
So it gives them plenty of time to explore and figure out what works for them, without moving on to like the next drill,
Hmm.
right? Because it's really not about drills. Drills are really irrelevant. It's what are we paying attention to?
Hmm.
What am I trying to focus on? What am I trying to isolate? What's the next layer of this? And I really feel like a lot of guys, they want to just like check the box, like, oh, dude, we did all this movement. It's like, yeah, the movement's not a big deal if the shooting is subconscious,
Sure.
and it makes it a lot easier, the movement, if the shooting is subconscious, because it's one less thing to think about. Now I can actually look at a spot where I need to go to, figure out how to come into that position softly, start shooting sooner, pre-aiming, all those things. But if I'm still worried about if my grip is right, all those other little micro nuances to a good entry and a good exit, dude, they don't happen. So you're kind of just wasting your time. You're
It
going through
ties
the
up
motion.
your bandwidth, like trying to just focus on the grip part.
Yeah. And then it's, I don't want to say it's counterproductive, but it's not productive because you're not actually focusing on those key points to make that iteration successful.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
It does.
So that's
So
kind of where I am with that.
what are the difference between your classes? Do you have like a mechanism for like you're a beginner, you're the intermediate, you're the advanced? Is it like a USPSA skill level or a standard or a metric or
So I'll back up one step off that. I mean, obviously, I shoot competitions. I don't consider myself a competitor, right? So I teach a practical approach to shooting for defensive purposes,
okay?
and I'll expand upon that so it makes more sense for people. Uh, the reason why I got into competition was not because I cared about being a competitor or, you know, ranking or any of that stuff. It's I got injured on an operation and I blew my leg apart, and I was out of work for like 9 months.
Oh,
So
dang.
yeah, good thing about where I work is you don't lose any money. We have unlimited sick time, so I could have stayed out for years and still not missed a outside of overtime, not missed a
Sure.
penny. But I had nothing to do, so I was in this like full leg cast, and I just went to the range every day, right? And at that time, the op tempo was very busy. I was new to even understanding like if you would have said practical shooting, I wouldn't have known what that even meant at that
Mhm.
time, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but since I had all this free time and I wasn't running around doing all these jobs and training my dog, um, I had plenty of time to just scour the internet, right? And I started just like finding different things. And I was like, cool, man, I got nothing to do, so I'm gonna go to the range. So I start doing that every day. I'm just going to the range every day. And I shot a lot up to that point to begin with, but not every day. Um, and I started to figure out things. And I was like, you know what, dude, I should go shoot one of these competitions.
Okay.
So I went to my first competition with a Glock 19 with a comp on it. So
Rolling special. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the worst open gun you could have
No, I get it.
in a full leg cast. Because at the time, that's what I was shooting. Like that was
Sure.
my go to gun.
Yeah.
I didn't use it at work, but like when I went to a course, because I took a lot of courses, still do. Um, that was like my heat.
100%.
That
Yeah.
was the gun I was bringing to help me.
Well, and that's the advice to people going to shoot USPSA. Like, don't buy anything. Just whatever your favorite gun is. It's like 9 millimeter. Just show up. That's
Yeah.
yeah. Just go.
So I did the match in a leg cast. Obviously, movement is key for
Sure.
time. Couldn't move. There
Yeah.
was the one stage had like a balance beam. I was
Oh
like,
no.
are you fucking kidding me, dude? I got one leg, but we made it work. I fell off like 100 times, but we made it work. And really, the takeaway from that was once again being exposed to guys that could shoot. Still had no clue what was going on, but I was like, "There's value here," and a
Mhm.
lot of this kind of looks like CQB with the way we run it. Um, like we run free flow, points of domination CQB, so you're on the move a lot. And I was like, this is essentially a stage going throughout a house, collapsing your sector, and have to be able to pick small spots and shoot really quick and accurate.
Uh-huh.
Right. So I was like, this is good for work.
Okay.
So I got into it for that purpose, right? And I'm still into it for that purpose. I've now gotten more of the bug where like I want to be competitive. Um, but I also don't treat matches like I should because to me, matches to this point um, are still training. Like I will do things regularly in matches that are not smart, but I come up with these crazy ideas and I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to see if I can hook up on this 35-yard partial on the fucking move because that's going to get rid of a position. And usually it doesn't work out because it was a bad idea, you know? Uh, but in my head, I'm like, dude, I'll save 2 seconds there if I get rid of that position if I take it here. Now, as I'm maturing more in my competition world, it's like the risk versus reward on that
Yeah.
is catastrophic, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't go Charlie Mike there. you know, you
Not
know,
very good. Not if you want to win
no,
anything.
it's not good to be competitive, right? So I've matured in a sense, but for a long time, a lot of like the competition wasn't about like pass or fail or even where I stood. It was just like another opportunity for me to explore with stuff like I would do on the flat range,
Sure.
um, and a little bit more pressure of an environment.
Okay.
You get one whack at it.
Yep.
Do I do it right now? Because when you're on the range, you screw it up, it's like, I'll do it again.
Yeah, who
You
cares?
know? Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
so I was still using competitions for a very long time early on to just kind of like test stuff, see if I could do stuff. Um, and now I'm kind of settling into like, all right, dude, like I need to be more consistent. I need to play my game, not just some crazy wazoo thing that I thought of in my head
Mhm.
that could be awesome if I hook up.
Right.
But the probability of that is like the risk versus reward is not there.
Hmm.
Right. So I've definitely matured into that, but I still take some creative freedom in matches to just kind of play with stuff and explore things. And it's all a win to me because it's all learning points, right?
Sure.
Like knowing what you can and can't do is a good thing, especially for real life. And you only really know what that is by pushing yourself in those environments and seeing if you can do it. Now, if I do hook up on one of those things, does that really mean I can do it? No,
Maybe, maybe not.
yeah, like I did it that time,
Right.
you know. But over time, and being able to do certain things, like, all right, I'll start to build trust in that. So a lot of my training too is designed to really push and do difficult things, and see, really figure out the nuances of like, what do I really need to see? How much do I need to see? How aggressively can I smash on this gun and still, keep the sights where I need them to be
Hmm.
at all these different distances and uh, even more complex targets, right? No shoots, hard covers, things like that. Um, I don't know if I really answered your question, but I think to go back to it is you asked more about like how do I break apart my curriculum for the skill levels?
Well, how would people know which class to be in? Like, should they be in a beginner? Should they be in an advanced? Like you obvious these class
Yeah,
offerings. How do they
I
know
think
they're in the right spots? They don't end up over their head.
so. I think a lot of my classes are they're very similar because shooting,
Hmm.
right? So if you're in a baseline course or you're in the performance course, you're going to see a lot of the same stuff. I'm just going to take some things for granted in like the performance. So like we're not going to talk about draw stroke in the performance class. Like you should have that figured out. I'm not wasting time on doing draw stroke stuff. You will do a lot of draw strokes, and I might give you individual pointers here and there about specific things that I see, but there's no block on draw stroke efficiency in developing an index.
Okay.
The baseline course that does have that, right? Performance course. We're not talking about stance. Um, Even in my baseline course, we talk about stance, but basically it's talked about that the stance is going to be the stance is going to represent what I need to do in that given moment
Hmm.
and what's going to give me the best opportunity to be successful to get out of that position into that position,
Okay.
especially for like when we're tying it back to a defensive um, manner for like CQB, like you don't really dictate how your feet are because it's very dependent upon the guy in front of you, right? He takes a big tech, he takes a small step, he does whatever he does. I need to be able to keep timing and spacing, and I need to be athletic enough to manipulate my body any way I can to be able to get to my point of domination, collapse my sector. So um, there's an ideal way. Like it basically comes back down to principles. Like, hey, man, I'm trying to be balanced and
Mhm.
stable no matter how my feet or body position looks. And depending on what the environment is, that will look several different ways, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So like we talk about those principles more in a baseline course. Um, and I regularly just, push guys to explore with different things because a lot of times how I put my feet is very, especially on stand and deliver, is dependent upon what I'm going to do. You know, if it's just a straight up target ahead of me, I'll probably be in a little bit more bladed stance. If I know there's going to be a wide target transition, I become more neutral and try to spread my toes across that array to
Okay.
minimize tension in my body. Right? Little things like that. But whatever it's going to be and how I'm going to stand is going to facilitate for optimal shooting for that array.
Okay.
So the baseline has um, more more stuff like that, and then in performance, we kind of just assume you generally understand that, and if you don't understand that, uh, trial by fire, you will figure it out through the exploratory process of doing different layering drills and different things like that, and then I'll add different pointers. But there won't be like a specific block of like we're going to talk about stance right now. We're going to talk about draw stroke. You know, the baseline has more of that.
Okay.
And then the pistol mastery course is basically where performance pistol kind of leads off. And that kind of just has you doing a lot more exits and entries into positions, but not done so much from like a traditional competition standpoint
Okay.
or of like it all ties back to competition, right? But we're not talking about lead put pivots and all kinds of stuff like that. I'm leaving out a lot of the vernacular
Mhm.
uh, where I feel like it just loses people. And we're just trying to use like common terms for cops and stuff like that.
Yeah, like feet flat
And
on the
prepared
floor,
citizen.
knees bent.
Yeah, like we keep it very simple. And it's like, all right, man, how do I blend these positions where I can stay balanced and keep shooting? You know, stuff like that. So like I'm sure like competition guys will watch that and be like, that's not a drop step. And it's like, yeah, in a competition world, that's not a drop step. But if you look at it like the way I'm moving my foot, that resonates to this guy that it looks like a drop, like I'm dropping my leg back.
Okay.
And that's easier for him to conceptualize and buy into than me being like, well, technically it's a lead put pivot and it's this and that. And I think it muddies the water for no good reason. And
Okay.
I care less about that you understand this vernacular, more about you understand the principles and what we're trying to accomplish. And
Sure.
that's really what's going to lead you to success, not like understanding exactly, the terminology of things.
Buzzwords get annoying, so I'm with you on
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah. And I get it. Like there's for guys that are heavily competition guys, like, and that's their sole focus. That's fine, but that's not my wheelhouse, right? I teach practical shooting uh, to more defensive minded people because I believe it has value
Sure.
from my training and experience. And although I think you should go shoot matches, um, it's really irrelevant if people are going to train in that manner because that's a big part of it. Like teaching yourself how to train yourself,
Mhm.
teaching yourself how to identify deficiencies, how to isolate those deficiencies, how to layer correctly. Every drill has like micro components to it that break apart the layers. And I do that because take like transitions, right?
Okay.
So if we're going to do just an easy three target transition, right? Um, we'll just start with the gun aimed in on the first
Okay.
target. I'll give you the cue, right? The cue to release that small spot and go to the next target is on
Okay.
the break of the trigger, right? So you'll press the round. As soon as you press the trigger, you're going to remove your eyes off the first target,
Mhm.
put them on the second target, and then we're going to bump the gun over, right, in recoil.
Okay.
We're not shooting that target. All we're paying attention to is how does that gun arrive?
Okay.
Does it arrive exactly where I attached my spot? Was it a little bit sloppy? Did you pick a small spot? All these little nuances. So every drill has that layer, and I do that because it gives guys a spot to go back to when they're failing, right? And then it goes all the way up to now we're going to draw and we're going to hose the shit out of this, and we're going to see if we can do it at max speed, knowing that if we pay attention to these core principles and these key things, the bullets will be there, right?
Sure.
And then when the mistakes happen, you're like, okay, um, my vision's getting a little bit sloppy. Okay, well now you have the back steps to work that
Okay.
in a more controlled setting to lead you to success when you start pushing the pace.
Yeah.
Does that
That
make
makes sense.
sense?
Yeah, I like breaking the drill down into small drills. That's a good idea.
I
Just
think it,
that's
it
the thing.
does. I think it does, especially for like what I see for my student base.
Mhm.
Um, there's so many little things going on to be successful at like warp speed
Mhm.
um, that you need to isolate those individual things. Like what we just talked about is like all I really care about is how that gun arrives to the next target. And I don't want you shooting because I don't want it muddying the water. I just want you seeing how the dot arrives,
Mhm.
you know? And then as we start doing that and we start exploring, then it becomes one and one, right?
Mhm.
And then we bump the gun again. So it's like, all right, one, bump the gun to the third one. And it slowly progresses all the way to drawing, right? So every drill has that layering effect. And every drill has a specific little nuance that we're paying attention to and forgetting about what was not forgetting about, but trying to get the other person to run subconscious.
Mhm.
But the focus is this one thing at this one iteration. And then we put it all together for the whole package to do that. I've seen a lot of good success um, with that, especially even like breaking apart your guys' doubles drill, right? The way I layer doubles is, it goes dry, then it goes one shot return, then it goes into what we call 50-50s, which is like your ball and dummy drill.
Okay.
So it's one live round and it's no mag in the gun, so you have a dead trigger, right? In the doubles process.
Okay.
So you
You
draw,
get boom click.
you're not even drawing the gun, right? There's a live round in the gun. I press
Mhm.
the trigger, it goes boom, it recoils. I smash on the trigger again, and there's no bullet going off. So what that does is, since there's no recoil there, it doesn't mask all the information there. You see, oh wow, dude, I tried to push on that gun to return it, right?
Sure.
The information becomes way more apparent,
Yeah.
and then we get into the doubles, right? And a lot of this is come from, because I'm not very talented at anything. Um, I would say if I had a talent, it would be I'm very persistent, right? And with watching a lot of your guys' stuff and doing the doubles, like doubles took me a very long time. I felt longer than it should to figure out. Um, and for me personally, it was because it was draw the gun, hammer the doubles, and try to pay attention to those key things. But there was information there that I was missing because at my current skill level at that time when it was introduced to me, whatever, 5-6 years ago,
Mhm.
I didn't have the bandwidth and understanding. And it took me, I want to say, like 8 months of just crushing doubles to
Dang.
really, yeah, to figure out all the nuances. So what, through that journey, because I'm a rockhead, man, like through that journey, I was like, how can I make this easier? So I started to like deconstruct it, not violating the principles or the core purpose of it, but how can I make this easier for people to shorten that learning curve for guys that are also dumb like me?
Sure.
And you'd be shocked. There's a lot of dumb people out there. So it works. It works very well. And I can just tell just from like just the classes, people are picking up on it and the information and the tension transfers and all that stuff like that way quicker because there's less going on but the same process. And then when we switch over to doubles, it's a lot more successful. So a lot of breaking down the principles into micro doses, giving you individual things to pay attention to, um, and then the layering is important. I think how you layer drills and how you progress is extremely important. I think I do a pretty good job at that. Some people would maybe consider it's too slow, but I think it's really important because, like I said before, it gives people when they're running it hard, it gives them the fallback step to go back to make that
Mhm.
corrective behavior based on like the core principles of what we're trying to get done at speed. And I feel like it solves problems better. But that's my take. I'm open to constructive criticism anytime.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like it. That makes sense.